This is Semi-Detached Finn, a story about strange houses, serious cats, and small things that aren't quite what they seem. Episode 2, The Spider and the Toothbrush. Finn had settled into his new home rather nicely. The floors didn't creak quite as much once you learned where to step. The windows let in just enough light to make it look cozy, and by now Professor Posington had claimed not just the chair, but the entire couch, leaving one small patch on the left side, which he graciously allowed Finn to use. The house was quiet, a silence only interrupted by the inconsistent ticking of the clock. Finn by now felt completely at home. One morning, he opened the fridge to get a cucumber and found a spider who had spun a web in the vegetable drawer. The spider looked up.
"If it's all right with you, could you leave the door open just a little longer? It's colder in here than I expected."
"Sure," said Finn. "Why are you in my fridge anyway?" The spider rubbed his front legs together.
"I was trying to catch a carrot," he said, "but it was far too heavy. It just went straight through my web."
He gave a small sigh.
"Oh well, we spiders aren't exactly built for cold climates. Doesn't really do much for the reflexes, does it?"
Finn looked at the drawer. A small web was stretched between the lettuce and the zucchini, with a half-eaten cherry tomato still stuck in it. "You're trying to catch vegetables?" Finn asked.
"Yeah," said the spider. "I've never cared much for bugs. Too wriggly. Not enough flavor."
Finn nodded. "Want to move to the windowsill? I've got basil growing there, and it's definitely a little bit warmer." The spider considered this.
"That would be marvelous," he said. "But is there parsley as well?"
"Yep, there's parsley," said Finn.
"Good."
Finn picked up the vegetable drawer, carried it to the windowsill, and set it down beside the potted herbs. The spider crawled out, took a brief look around, and began spinning a new web between the basil and the parsley. Professor Posington jumped up, gave the spider a long, silent stare, then lay down with a faint sigh, as if to say,
"Fine, but make sure to ask me next time."
From that day on, the spider, whose name it turned out was Lenny, lived quietly in the herb corner. And just like that, Finn had made a friend. Lenny wasn't especially talkative, but now and then he could be heard humming softly to himself as he spun his web. A few days later, just after lunchtime, Finn began to suspect that the house might look a little tidier if anyone, had ever cleaned it. He stood in the hallway considering his options and headed for the bathroom. It felt like a manageable place to begin. It was small, slightly slanted, and smelled like damp and old toothpaste. Finn opened the window, wiped the mirror with his sleeve, and started clearing the shelf above the sink. There was an empty soap bottle, a cracked comb, a hairpin, and an old toothbrush. The toothbrush didn't look like anything special. White handle, worn bristles, and a small chip at the end. The kind of toothbrush that gets left behind when people move houses and nobody ever misses it. Finn dropped it into the bin with everything else. But then, from behind, somewhere near the window, came a shouted whisper.
"Don't throw that away!"
It was Lenny. Finn turned. "It's a toothbrush."
"It's the toothbrush," said the spider.
Finn fished it back out and looked at it again. "It's old."
"Yes," said Lenny, "and magical."
Finn gave the toothbrush a look. It didn't glow, it didn't hum, it just looked tired. "What kind of magic?"
"All sorts," said Lenny. "Very advanced."
Finn sat on the edge of the bathtub. "Does it need batteries?"
"No,"
said Lenny with a small chuckle.
"It just needs the right spell."
Finn waited. Lenny cleared his throat and recited, like someone remembering a poem from a long, long time ago.
"Scrubby, scrubby, clean and bright, make this mess a tidy sight. Wiggle, wiggle, sparkle, shine, sort and sweep and realign."
The toothbrush twitched. Then it buzzed. Then it zipped out of Finn's hand, zipping down the hallway and disappeared around the corner. Bewildered, Finn followed. By the time he reached the kitchen, the toothbrush was already at work, brushing crumbs into a neat little pile, straightening the stack of tea towels, dusting the windowsill, and giving the rug a quick tug so it finally lay flat. It even straightened one of Professor Posington's whiskers. The cat half opened one sleepy eye and continued his snooze. When the toothbrush had finished, it floated calmly back to the bathroom and placed itself next to the tap. Finn stood in the doorway. It wasn't perfect. The mirror was still cracked, and the tap still dripped. However, the floor didn't feel sticky anymore. The dust was gone, and the air smelled faintly of lemon and clean laundry. Lenny was hanging from his web near the windowsill. Even his web looks a little tidier.
"Well," said the spider, "you picked a good place to start, didn't you?"
Finn didn't say anything, but he made sure to never throw the toothbrush away again. That was episode 2 of Semi-Detached Finn, the spider and the toothbrush. Next episode, Finn makes a friend, one who hears a strange sound from under her stairs. A sound that sounds suspiciously like a doorbell. See you next time.